Congressman Connie Mack has made his way in front of a camera now in Washington, D.C. There he is, right outside the White House. So the meeting let out. I mean, I guess the thing, I just leave it open to, what did you take away from it? What went on in there?
Well, you know, I think it was a rehashing of the same arguments. I'm not sure that any common ground was found. The president said something, though, that struck me as odd. He called low taxes an experiment, that somehow we were experimenting in low taxes. And again, this goes to the point of whose money is it anyways? I think the president thinks that government is entitled to the people's money. As Republicans, we believe that it belongs to the individual, and we should only be funding the things that are necessary. So I thought the meeting was, you know, it's fine to have a meeting, but the substance. Kevin McCarthy asked a very pointed question. He asked the president if he would put forward a set of principles and guidelines to move forward on how to deal with the debt and the deficit. And the president basically said, no, we're not going to put those out, and we're not going to put a bill out. We're going to let you all take the lead because he doesn't want to take the political shots that would come from putting out his own bill. So I thought that was disappointing.
Okay, so that was the context of what I was reporting earlier, is that the House leadership, and you're saying Congressman McCarthy took the lead on this, but we're really pushing the president for a specific plan on how to deal with the debt crisis. And it doesn't sound like, and we'll get the other side of this hopefully a little bit later on, but you're saying that the response just wasn't there. Did he deflect the question? Did he not answer it directly? How did that actually, what was the back and forth like?
No, he said specifically that he wasn't going to put out his own plan. That what he wants is to be able to announce a joint plan. Basically, the politics of this is he doesn't want to lead on it because he doesn't want to take the shots. Look, there's a way we can solve the deficit, and we can do it pretty easily. I've sponsored legislation. We would cut 1% a year for 6 years. We'd cap spending to 18% of GDP. We'd balance the budget in 8 years, and we'd cut $7.5 trillion. We can do this. It just takes the political courage to do it.
You know, I just got another quote here. This is kind of interesting from our reporter, Rich Edson, who was fed this through one of his sources, that Congressman Paul Ryan, and I'd just be curious to see what the reaction from the president was to this, that Congressman Paul Ryan got up at the meeting and said, quote, "Leaders have to lead, and you haven't shown leadership." Was that a back and forth between the congressman and the president? What was that like? Did it happen?
You know, I think Congressman Ryan did a great job of outlining to the president the differences between the president's rhetoric and the way he's trying to couch the Ryan budget plan and the realities. I'm not sure the president took that in great stride. And certainly Paul Ryan was saying to the president, look, if you continue to give speeches around the country talking about Republicans want to push grandma off the cliff, it's going to be hard to come to any agreements. That is not what Paul Ryan's bill is doing.
But what did the president say? When he said that, when he challenged him on his leadership, what did the president say?
Well, I think the president said it takes both sides, and that I think he's right.
Tried to deflect it a little bit. Now, I want to go back to the comment you made, because it struck you, and you brought it up to us when I asked you, hey, what went on in there? The low taxes, quote-unquote, experiment, that the president uses the word experiment when talking about taxes being low. What was the context of that?
He was in the middle of a riff, if you will. He was explaining his position on something. And basically he said that we've experimented now with low taxes as though that isn't working. Yet we see some of the highest rates we've seen in a long time. There seems to be a disconnect. Again, I think for the people who are watching, what it goes to is, do you believe that government deserves the money and should have more money, or does that money belong to the individual? And I think the president believes that it's the government's money. Otherwise, he wouldn't have called low taxes an experiment.
Right, but he didn't come out and you didn't get the kind of an explicit suggestion from the president that he was planning on raising taxes. You're trying to read between the lines here and say that you almost got the impression that he's done with this lower tax rate. So that's what you're reading into it.
My read is that he thinks that experiment of low taxes didn't work. Therefore, he wants to raise taxes.
On Medicare specifically, Congressman, is there across-the-board support, would you say, for Congressman Ryan's plan at this point in the Republican caucus?
There is strong support for Congressman Ryan's plan. And let me tell you why. if we don't act, it goes bankrupt. The program doesn't exist. Democrats aren't coming forward with a plan of their own. Instead, they're attacking the only plan that's out there.
Right.
And I think this goes to the point of leadership and why we think, the president, the Democrats, they need to come forward. It's almost like if we put a suggestion box out somewhere in the Capitol and said, look, if there's any Democrat ideas, go ahead and just put it in this box. It'll be safe and anonymous.
Sure.
But there are no ideas coming out.
Now, the other thing I heard there was really an outlining, and I guess this will be the next few weeks or few months and what we'll see of the debt ceiling debate. Now that last night's vote is over with and we're not going to see the debt ceiling raised without any spending cuts attached, you heard Speaker Boehner saying that the spending cuts should exceed the increase we have in the debt limit. Any idea of what those numbers will actually look like?
I don't know that we have that yet. That hasn't been presented to me. I'll tell you this. As far as I'm concerned, the only way I'm voting for a debt ceiling increase is if we balance the budget. In other words, if we cut the amount needed to cut and balance the budget, then we can talk about a debt ceiling increase. And only if then it is followed with an automatic decrease of the debt ceiling.
In
other words, if people out there say that because of the bills that were run up over the last couple years, we've got to pay for those, fine. But not without balancing the budget and an automatic rollback of the debt ceiling. So
you have an even higher metric, I guess, would be the way to put it, than Speaker Boehner spoke about there a moment ago. But Congressman Connie Mack, we really appreciate it, out of Florida, for all the time joining us today from outside the White House. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
He was in the meeting and painted the picture for us pretty well of what was going on inside of there.